left channel, right channel, center.
ENVTuber 一問一答自己紹介
Yeah, and the tape's
それじゃあ
rolling.
行くよせーのお名前は
Katt Phloxworthy.
呼び方は
Just Cat is fine.
あなたは何系 VTuber?
Nerdy cat girl who features spaceflight.
誕生日は
May 4th.
年齢は
Older than Pneumatic.
性別は
Transgender
身
female.
長は
4'11".
出身は
Sacramento County.
チャームポイントは
Dialogue hair clip.
突然ですがモノマネどうぞ
Yeah, what's up, Dad?
活動場所は
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube.
はじめの挨拶
Thank you for joining me.
終わりの挨拶
Bye.
推しマークは
Not at present.
配信タグは
Catlight feed.
ファンアートは
Cat pics.
ファンネームは
Cat's apprentices.
好きな色は
Iris Indigo.
好きなことは
Vintage computers and
得意
video.
なことは
Technology.
ここで一言愛の告白好
I love you.
きな食べ物は
Ethnic foods.
好きな飲み物は
Craft soda.
好きな漫画は
Pizza 10.
好きなアニメは
Planet.
好きなゲームは
Left 4 Dead 2.
好きな音楽は
Classic rock.
苦手なことは
Human stupidity.
尊敬するのは
Space fairy people.
叶えたい夢は
ISS crew
最後にみん
interview.
なに一言どう
Thanks
ぞ
so much for your support and a final status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur.
Go Katt Phlox.
You have permission to launch.
3, 2, 1. RD-180 ignition. Booster ignition and liftoff of Atlas V and Centaur. Oh, yes. Thank you for doing me a favor and solid and telling me about, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to have to double check that. Let me double check. Should be okay now. Okay, I should be up now. Perfect. Okay. So anyway, like I was saying, we are now, we're going to go ahead and pick up the NASA coverage right now. Hang on a sec here. Here we go. As you see, we are seeing pictures from Integrity. We see the European space, European service module, and we're seeing, I don't know what's going on. I have to double check everything on the on the microphone. I thought I turned off the I thought I had it such that I can unmute myself, but at least we have everything working now. I'm going to have to work on this soon. And on top of that, there are other issues going on. But anyway, we're now traveling at a rate of about Mach 33, which is about 25,000 to 26,000 miles an hour. And I'd say about 10 or 15 minutes ago, they said they were about 12,000 miles from Earth, which may seem like a lot, but over the course of this particular time period, it's going to be they're going to be hitting the entry interface, which is at about 400,000 feet above the Earth, the surface of the Earth, where they will experience peak heating. Very shortly after, like half a minute later, they will be hitting the Earth at, like I said, starting at about Mach 22. Mach 20. Mach 32. Excuse me, 32 to 33. And the heat shield will be as hot as about 5,000 degrees Celsius, 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Excuse me.
When we return from the moon, we expect to achieve velocities upwards of 36,000.
Let me turn this up here. And also, do you have any audio? It looks like I do have audio.
Splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. The flight crew is going to experience between 3 and 4 times the force of Earth's gravity. On Artemis 1, pressure buildup inside the char layer of the heat shield resulted in the char losses we saw. NASA established a Tiger team whose job was to investigate the cause of the problem and then make recommendations on how to fly the Artemis II mission safely.
I was replying to someone on a chat over at a Discord server I'm in.
And so the char losses.
So anyway, we are watching the return the return trip of the Artemis II mission aboard spacecraft Integrity. And we are, I don't know how long we are until entry interface, but I heard that the that splashdown is will be about 7 after 5 today. Zunfei, thank you so much for the follow, and welcome to the workshop and labs. And we're watching Artemis II mission and coming to an end with spacecraft Integrity with our crew of 4. The most people ever in one mission going off to heading to the moon. And on top of that, I also mentioned that. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, and in about. Hopefully, before too long, we'll actually put the first people on the moon since 1972. Oh, let me see if I can get that taken care of. Hang on.
Nautical miles. That will begin the southwest and northeasterly transit across the Pacific Ocean. Let's
okay, hang on a sec here.
Some of the highlights and some of the numbers associated with the points of interest here. We are 27 and a half minutes away from crew module, service module separation. That will be followed about 3.5 minutes later by the raise burn that we've discussed, a 19-second burn of Integrity's thrusters to fine-tune its angle of attack as it enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Also, let me check one other thing, too.
7.5 minutes from now, that's the point at which we will reach the top of the Earth's atmosphere, traveling about 34,882 feet per second at an altitude of 400,000 feet. Just 24 seconds after entry interface, we will begin a blackout period of 6 minutes in duration at 6:53 and 54 seconds p.m. Central Time. Now,
okay, cool.
10 seconds after the blackout period begins, we are expected to reach peak speed.
Okay, I just had my.
which would be 24,000.
I had to put my. I had to get my.
miles an hour. That'll be about
I'm hoping I got
3 miles an hour short of the velocity record set by the Apollo 10 astronauts, Tom Stafford, Gene Cernan, and John Young, when they returned from the moon on the Apollo 10 mission in 1969.
I kind of forgot that I have the way I'm actually for my side. I'm actually monitoring the OBS Studio process that's running locally here.
52 seconds p.m. Central Time will reach our peak heating period of about.
Because I'm actually running a total of 5
degrees,
computers.
While we're in a communications blackout from Integrity and.
Yeah, and but they'll only experience maybe 3.5 times the Earth, the force of Earth's gravity as soon as they go down that corridor.
Control room. We'll be talking to the crew, calling them, and we'll await a response from the crew.
Yeah, I just about 3.5 G's or so is what we're looking at here.
Altitude will be just 157,000 feet above the Earth, traveling at 13,000 feet per second. With a range,
and that's nominally about the same G-load that they experience during the Space Shuttle program launches, and also about the same when they re-enter.
The next key series of events will be the deployment of a series of parachutes that we discussed before. First, the forward bay cover chute deploy that will pull the forward bay cover away from the top of Integrity, followed by drogue chute deploy, and then the main chute deploy that's expected at 7:04 and 44 seconds p.m. Central Time. That will begin the gentle descent of Integrity towards its splashdown at just a velocity of just 19 miles an hour.
Talk about a difference between what we saw in the Apollo capsule as well as the Orion capsule. And nerve-wracking. Yes, indeed. Yeah, because like they said, when they originally, like I was saying earlier, and you may not have heard me say during that point in time, when I had my mic accidentally muted, I need to fix that. What happened was that during the course of during the latter part of John Glenn's mission aboard Mercury capsule Friendship 7, they had no idea, because they did not experience this with Alan Shepard's and Virgil Gus Grissom's ships, because those were suborbital, and they did not come anywhere close to the orbital velocity of 17,500 miles an hour, which will produce so much friction against the atmosphere. The air can't even get away quickly enough, and that's why you end up having a big, huge envelope of plasma enveloping the entire craft for about 4 to 6 minutes. Yeah, lots of it. It has to, in order to slow down, because we're going from like 25 to 26,000 miles an hour, and by the time they deploy the drogue chutes, they're still right around 500 miles an hour. And then about a minute or so later, they'll deploy they'll cut loose the drogue chute and then let go a pilot chute, which will then start to pull out all the main chutes, which will then cause those chutes to what is called reef and open very slowly. And during that point in time, they're going to slow down. It slows down the descent quite a bit, all the way down to about 19 miles an hour, at which point they will splash down in the Pacific Ocean. And they're saying they're estimating right around 5:07 p.m. our time here in California.
And Megan Cruz. Megan? And we'll regain that communication with the USS John P. Murtha just momentarily.
What'll be really interesting is once they get video from inside during reentry, that will be interesting to see, because you'll see lots of plasma going around the ship as basically the way these heat shields work on Orion. I believe they do the same with Dragon, as well as, of course, a CS-100 Starliner. Those are using what are called ablative heat shields, where basically parts of that heat shield will burn away, basically taking away the heat as it burns off, and it burns very slowly.
Rob. Yeah, the excitement is really building here on the ship. I'm watching right now.
And in fact, many rocket engines use what is called ablative cooling by basically putting heat, basically a coating on the outside, as possibly, I believe, also on the inside of, like, for example, the nozzle. The RS-68As on the Delta 4 and Delta 4 Heavy all used ablative cooling. They basically burn off that coating over the course of the vehicle's ascent, and better to burn it than the engine. And from what I understand, I think they're going to probably do much the same with the expendable version, in this case, the RS-25E, the expendable version of the RS-25. Basically, it's a lot easier to make, and you don't have to reuse it. And on top of that, you don't have to worry about all the cooling lips that go around the engine nozzle.
Here, we'll start there. Basically, we also, while watching this weather balloon,
I follow a lot of great stuff on there.
Helos as well as the two.
Hey, Kara, how you doing? Let me give you a quick shout out.
This is just one of the many things that, again, are a ship of 550 people. It's something that you oversee as commanding officer.
Yeah, absolutely. Every commanding officer, I would say really every naval service member, our priority is always.
Yeah, go check her out. She does a lot of checking in with various VTubers out there. He does. He's a Bobby Nuku VTuber.
Really has, I would say my.
Yeah, I know. I goofed. My bad.
As we're leading up to today, we've been building.
And I've been checking in with Kara Carousel over on Voop Chat.
But really, over the past 24 hours, now I'm trying to get us to slow down a little bit. Trust our training, right? Don't believe all the hype. Don't believe everything that's going on. Just let's.
So right now, they're in the process of getting everything ready so then they can detach everything. We're watching the return of the Artemis II mission aboard Orion Starship Integrity with her crew of 4, about ready to detach the service module and then orient itself in position in order to get into what is called the position for entry interface, where it actually gets to the topmost perceptible layers of the atmosphere. Shortly after that, it will immediately start to plow through the upper portion of the atmosphere, creating an enormous amount of drag, and since the air can't get around quickly enough, it'll ionize the air around it, and we will lose communication with the Orion capsule for about 6 minutes. This phenomenon happened during the earlier parts of re-entry during
this morning saying just that,
during
again,
the
that it's really
heading
nice
back to
see
Earth. That is
everybody
correct.
working together and so excited.
But basically what happens is that we're coming back, we're barreling back, probably the fastest that humans have ever barreled back. We're talking about Mach 30, 33 or so, which is 33 times the speed of sound.
That being said, is my command of change of command.
It is a long time. That's because we are experiencing peak heating, and after those 6 minutes, everything will clear up again, and they'll be able to transmit, and air will get out of the way quickly because we're still up there in the relatively thinner parts of the atmosphere, but we have to go down just enough in order to start slowing things down.
They make my crew better. I think we're making NASA better together.
And seeing a lot of the stuff. Unfortunately, I really didn't exactly have things well timed. Imagine being alone with a couple of people in a spaceship and you knowing you lost communication for a bit. Yeah, that's true. But also think about. As I was mentioning earlier, I was talking about John Glenn aboard Friendship 7 during the first ever American orbital mission. Near the very end of that mission, they had no idea they were going to end up going into a situation where they would be out of communication for a few minutes.
Spacecraft communicator. We have just handed over communications links from the Deep Space Network that we communicated
Mach 30 is
through.
That's about right. That is about right.
Injection burn back on April 2nd. We've just handed back just handed back to the Tracking and Data Relay satellite
Oh
system.
yeah, you have it just about right. And nominally, when they're in orbit around the Earth, whenever they're going to the ISS, they're doing about 17,500 miles an hour, or about 27,000 kilometers an hour, in order to achieve orbit. If they're orbiting at, say, 25,000 miles above the planet, they would be in what is called geostationary orbit. Basically, they'd be in roughly the same, if they do it at about 0 degrees inclination, they'll be above the same spot over the planet. That's how communication satellites work, especially stuff for like television satellites. However, other ones use a different type of orbit, like the ones for SiriusXM, and the Russian ones use another one, which is called Molniya, which is a very highly eccentric orbit, and they have a constellation of about 3 different satellites. They go out, hover at about 25,000 miles for, say, about several hours, and then another one will come into view of it.
Jackie, we have it loud and clear on TDRS.
We have you the same.
And there's one of the weather balloons being deployed from the USS John P. Murtha. So the Artemis I entry had the vehicle.
Any update on GPS? We haven't seen it.
I was double checking something because I also had a web browser and I wanted to close it. I needed to mute it so I can at least hear what's going on from my local feed that feeds into my studio machine.
Reed, we are watching. We are starting to get into the window where they may start acquiring, so should be within the next 10 minutes.
Wait, what was that small ball thing I just got back? Which ball are we looking at?
17 and getting ready for CMRCS hot fire.
And that exchange indicating that we are expecting to acquire data from the GPS system on board. That'll be
that was the moon. That was the moon.
Tell Integrity's computers that they're on track down the center line of the corridor for the entry interface that will lead them to their splashdown point. Once again, the Artemis I entry exposed the heat shield for about 20 minutes of peak heating. For Artemis II,
wow,
we're going to reach a downtrack distance of 1,701 nautical miles from the point of entry interface, with just 14 minutes of duration. And it's basically a different angle of attack, a little bit steeper angle of attack that will protect the heat shield from excessive heat loads. So that is the difference between Artemis I and Artemis II, all designed into this mission to gather data, to protect the heat shield, since the Artemis III mission and beyond will have a different designed heat shield that will allow that skip entry type of profile to
apparently what they do when they're going to do is they're going to go down at a relatively steep angle and do what is normally what, and also notice, look at this, look at something in there. You're going to see a character named Artemis in there, and I actually saw that from someone in one of the Discord channels I was on. I was in there. They mentioned it. It's Artemis from Sailor Moon. If you could see it, look behind the guy on the left in the cap composition. Look directly behind him. That is a plushie of Artemis. I'm like, how oddly appropriate.
Integrity as it enters the Earth's atmosphere.
So like I was about to say, they're going to come down rather steeply to start the actual entry maneuver, and just and to have a little bit of control over where they can plate themselves down. They're going to go into a lofting area, sometimes called a sliding reentry, where they go pretty much along the curvature of the Earth until they get to the point where and it looks like we got a drone there to get some video.
A dueling box view of some of the assets that are involved in recovery operations today. The
Integrity, cabin configured, all crew suited and seated.
Yep, everybody's donned their entry suits and they're ready to go. I'm not sure if they closed their helmets yet.
Integrity, as you see,
their visors rather.
Being deployed to the splashdown zone At the time of splashdown, we expect the John P. Murtha to be about 5 miles away from Integrity, keeping a safe distance until we are sure that the vehicle is in the water and upright, and that it is.
And also they have a WB-57, which is based on the B-57 Canberra, or more specifically the RB-57 Canberra.
To CM RCS warm-up hot fire.
We're ready.
We're getting ready to do the make some adjustments. I think they'll be doing that shortly after jettison of the ESM.
That will be a hot fire test.
And the ESM portion is below that conical section, which is the Orion spacecraft itself.
The European service module has performed flawlessly throughout this flight. Everything
and that big engine at the base is actually like the RS-25s on the core booster that was used to loft it up into the into original orbit. Those were both borrowed from. They were both used from the space shuttle program.
They deserve quite a bit of credit on this
and
mission.
all of those are on their last ever flights.
The Integrity and its astronauts toward the moon, but also conducting the fine-tuning of its trajectory to bring it to this point where we are dead spot on down the middle of the corridor trajectory-wise to bring Integrity down for its splashdown in the Pacific just 44 minutes from now.
And there you see a list of how far they're away from Earth. They're about. Right now, we're coming in at about 16,000 miles an hour, which is just shy of orbital velocity, which is a little bit shy of orbital velocity, excuse me. But that'll be a lot faster before too long.
What you're looking at is a computer-generated visualization based on real-time telemetry from Integrity. Currently traveling about 16,000 miles an hour.
And there we go. We have some assets coming from a Navy getting ready to leave a Navy carrier, or at least they just put down.
About 16,000 miles an hour.
For the prop cautions, we're taking a look.
Copy that.
Now just about 5,100 miles from Earth. Splashdown scheduled 43 minutes from now. We're just 9.5 minutes away from the crew module service module separation.
And then after that, they will use thrusters aboard Orion itself. Aboard Integrity herself in order to orbit the vehicle itself.
Details, but so far looks like a good hot fire.
Looks good on board, Jackie. Thank you.
And Jackie Mahaffey took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say that we had a good hot fire test of the thrusters in advance of the crew module service module separation that's coming up just 8.5 minutes from now. This will begin the period in which we will have rapid-fire succession of critical activities on board that will lead to entry interface just 28 minutes from now, where the vehicle will enter the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet. The time of entry interface, 6:53 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time.
So about half an hour from now, we will be about ready to hit the uppermost wisps of the Earth's atmosphere. Followed shortly thereafter by going into peak heating, where they're going to be barreling down what's starting to become the thickest portions of the atmosphere from at the very top. And during that time, they will be experiencing heating right around 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit below themselves.
To begin their entry preparations. And propulsion officer now reports a good hot fire test in preparation for the crew module service module separation.
By the way, I like your niche for VTubing. I think it's unique. Haven't seen anyone do this yet with VTubing. Thank you so much.
We're now inside 41 minutes until splashdown.
Integrity Houston, we have confirmed a good CMRCS hot fire. And although we are not seeing GPS acquired yet, you can skip the troubleshooting steps in 157 for now.
Integrity copies.
That GPS discussion indicating that we will be acquiring navigational data for Integrity through the Global Positioning System equipment on board. We just don't have it yet, but we will. All of Integrity's systems are in great shape to support its high-speed entry into the Earth's atmosphere. It, once again, will reach a peak speed of 24,661.21 miles an hour.
You're calling GPS. We at least have GPS 1 looking good on board.
Looks like they just acquired a GPS signal.
We are confirming.
Starting to see some adjustments of the solar panels.
Navigation and control officer here in Mission Control confirming that we have good lock on GPS data. We are on a communications link now through the tracking and data relay satellite system.
They've just left the area for the from the Deep Space Network.
Go to what's called a VLDR, a very low data rate communications link, so that we can talk to the crew inside Integrity as they are on the water.
Integrity, confirm we do see good GPS.
We do too, especially GPS 1 is accepting in nav channels 1 and 3.
And one thing to note is that usually on the way these systems work is that they basically have to acquire signals from at least 3 satellites in order to have full triangulation to work.
And the guidance, navigation, and control officer is spot on.
Not to mention, also, that's basically they use the whole concept of relativity in order to basically determine where people are, where the various receivers are. And one thing to bear a note, GPS is a receive-only system. You cannot send stuff to GPS. You can only send it by way of data that's coming in from GPS satellites.
21 miles per hour. That will be just seconds before we begin.
And also, sometimes you'll hear me talk about during my my raid, the raid video that you see. You'll hear me talk about GLONASS, GLONASS, or GLONASS, which is the Cyrillic name for that, and that is the Russian variant of that in Europe, that's Galileo, and in China, that is Beidou.
A change in velocity of 9.9 feet per second, a slight nudge of the aft end of the vehicle so that it's tilted a bit upward, providing the final angle of attack as the vehicle enters the Earth's atmosphere. This being the mitigating factor that will reduce heat loads on the heat shield as we reach a point downrange from the start of entry interface, some 1,701 nautical miles to the splashdown site.
So what they should be doing before too long, like they said, they're in the process of getting ready to separate from the European service module.
3,300 nautical miles left in this mission. Splashdown scheduled 36 minutes, 39 seconds from now.
Integrity Houston, for the 2 enabled prop cautions, what happened is while the thrusters were firing, multiple pressure sensors on each of the strings diverged a bit from each other. Those limits look to be set pretty tight. We think it could happen again when the thrusters fire in the future, so we are going to suppress those messages.
We concur with suppress, not inhibit. Thank you.
Well, we'll see.
That exchange between Jackie Mahaffey, our Capcom for tonight, and Reed Wiseman aboard Integrity, indicating basically to ignore sensor data. All of Integrity's systems are in good shape.
I got chills from that, though. What makes you say that? I'm just curious,
Now,
because...
coming up on about 90 seconds till the crew module, service module separation.
And also, from what I understand, when they were talking about the entry profile, they'll be doing a lot of... I wonder if they're doing something similar to the S-curves that the space shuttle would do during the course of the latter portions of the re-entry, just to bleed off more the...
Control as we enter the most critical phase of the completion of this flight, all of the preparatory activities leading up to the vehicle entering the Earth's atmosphere just 21 minutes from now.
I don't know just how just nerve-wracking the way she said that, the way she said it like that. Oh, I see. Well, best thing we can do is
coming up on
hope for the best on this.
Mark, 1 minute till crew module, service module separation.
Now, the question I'm curious about is, will they actually do a retro fire on the ESM in order to do some separation, or do they have to do some prograde firing on Integrity? Yeah, we have nothing that we can do but hope. That's absolutely true. Yeah. Of course, right now I think they're pretty much at the point of no return on that one. At least not yet, anyway. Well, we're getting there. And on top of that, one of the things I was thinking, there it goes.
And we have confirmation of crew module, service module separation.
Oh my God, that's actually real-time pictures of that.
Houston, good step on board.
They're calling good separation?
Houston copies and concurs.
The European service module now separated from Integrity. A job well done.
Integrity,
yes, it
no
is.
Action for the 4 CDH cautions. Those are SM related, not applicable.
Integrity.
SM being service module. And then pretty soon they'll start doing thruster firing so they can point the heat shield forward.
For the remaining 32 minutes of this mission. Next up, the raise burn, a 19-second firing of Integrity's thrusters.
GPS 2.
Integrity copies, good GPS 2.
Coming up on the 2-minute mark until the raise burn. Again, this is the final tweaking of the orientation of Integrity to put it in the right angle, if you will, the angle of attack that it will fly in during its entrance into the Earth's atmosphere. Entry interface now just 18 minutes, 25 seconds away. This is a visualization, but driven by real-time telemetry. This is the maneuvering of Integrity to the raise burn orientation. Just 2,800 miles from Earth.
But I don't think it has taken into account the fact that Integrity has separated from the ESM.
Houston, we got a great view of the European service module out the window with the sun hitting the side and the solar rays and the NASA worm right there. It's a beautiful looking machine.
NASA worm.
Roger.
That was done in the late 70s, and I remember that. I remember seeing some of the modules like of the Space Shuttle Enterprise, which was more a mock-up.
Raise burn orientation, 1 minute away from the raise burn.
it would have been very expensive to refit that one like they did with Challenger to into an actual flyable orbiter that they could actually launch and fly on missions. Though Enterprise did go, I believe, on 3 releases from the SCA, which is a modified Boeing 747, which has additional wings on the ends. What's different? What sets that apart from Buran is that Buran had a purpose-made plane, which was the Antonov An-225, reporting name Cossack for NATO, and that was the largest, at the time, flying airplane of all time, which of course has since been destroyed at the Battle of Hostomel Airport in Ukraine during the first few weeks of the Ukraine, the Russo-Ukrainian War.
And we have a completion of the burn.
I guess they made an attitude change, and we're probably less than half an hour away until entry interface.
Integrity, good. CM raise burn. Your flight path angle is within limits.
Integrity copies. Looks good on board, Jackie.
So the final maneuver is now complete. Our trajectory for a splashdown in the Pacific 29 minutes from now is set and will not be amended any further. And we have the right angle of attack to mitigate any excessive heat loads on the vehicle during entry interface.
Integrity Houston, a heads up about comm coverage. When you perform the 180 roll, for the first minute or so in that attitude, we expect about a minute LOS.
We copy.
I like how they managed to get all this information to the astronauts
who are watching,
down to almost the last second.
Series of events coming up. We will enter the first traces of Earth's atmosphere 14 minutes, 45 seconds from now. 6:53 and 30 seconds is what is pegged for entry interface at an altitude of 400,000 feet, traveling at approximately 34,800 feet per second, range to touchdown or splashdown 1,701 nautical miles. 24 seconds after entry interface, we will enter a 6-minute blackout period in which we will lose communications with the crew. This is expected due to the buildup of plasma around the vehicle. That's an ionization effect due to the collision, if you will, of the velocity of the spacecraft with the friction of the Earth's atmosphere. That 6-minute blackout is expected to begin at 6:53 and 54 seconds p.m. Central Time. During that period of time, we will reach our peak speed of 24,661 miles per hour. That comes just short, based on unofficial data from the flight dynamics officer right now, will come just short of the velocity record set by Apollo 10 of 24,791 miles per hour in 1969. We expect peak heating on the vehicle at 6:54 and 52 seconds p.m. Central Time, a minute and 22 seconds into entry interface. At that point, we will be just 204,000 feet above the Earth, traveling at 33,000 feet per second.
And we have inbound.
The blackout period is expected to last 6 minutes. We expect that blackout.
Speaking of GLONASS satellites, there go 3 of them.
From the end of the blackout period.
And thank you for coming on in, and thank you for your first time chat. How you doing?
We'll start deploying the series.
That was. Well, I'll explain in just a moment.
Integrity down to an ultimate splashdown velocity of just 19 miles an hour.
We see the same, waiting for the 180 rolls.
Basically, what that was a wayward Proton M rocket with 3 GLONASS satellites aboard,
parachute deployment
destroying
sequence,
itself.
Once again, will come in several segments, but in rapid fire succession.
And we have a great view of the moon out window 2. Looks a little smaller than yesterday.
Guess we'll have to go back.
But I'm glad you're here in any event. Thank you for coming on in, and I appreciate the raid.
Reed Wiseman and Jackie Mahaffey exchanging discussion on a view of the moon that Integrity's astronauts are seeing in the final minutes of this mission that will be completed with splashdown just 25 minutes from now. 3 forward bay cover parachutes will be used to pull the forward bay cover off.
Might have to go back.
Then 2 drogue parachutes will be deployed to slow and stabilize the crew module during its descent, followed by 3 pilot parachutes that will lift and deploy the main parachutes from the forward bay. The final sequence will have 3 main parachutes deployed. These will be 116 feet in diameter, each main parachute approximately 265 feet long when reefed. The parachutes will ultimately slow Integrity down from its peak speed of almost 33 times the speed of sound to a gentle 19 miles an hour at splashdown.
Anyway, that was that Proton M rocket had a bit of a problem.
Currently in a roll to the proper attitude for entry interface. Our trajectory is right on according to flight dynamics.
Anyway, what happened with that particular rocket is that they had several accelerometers, which I like to jokingly call the which way is up sensors, were forcibly installed upside down when they normally would be, when in the correct way, only go in one way, and that is the correct direction.
Integrity is on a trajectory from southwest and northeast across the Pacific Ocean, descending at a rate of 15,000 feet per second.
Wow, that's a quick descent. So anyway, what's happening is that when that thing launched, it immediately thought, "Oh my God, I'm upside down!"
300 nautical miles, all the systems in excellent shape.
A little bit later, I might show that and basically talk about how that happened. There, oh my God, look at those! Look at the I'm wondering if that's. I don't know if those are dust particles or no. It couldn't be the sun. Couldn't be the stars out there. I don't know.
Integrity, Orion in the EI roll 180 attitude.
Yeah, over on.
Let's get on board, Jackie.
And yeah, Starbaker over on YouTube. That's what happened. Is that somebody put some inserts, put some sensors on completely upside down.
Pressure sensors that feed altitude and rate of descent information to Integrity's computers that will trigger the parachute deployment sequence. We are less than 9 minutes away from entry interface, 22 minutes from splashdown.
So about 4:53 here in California. Before we go into entry interface and seeing the uppermost reaches of the Earth's atmosphere.
One of the crew members in the window. Out in the Pacific, the weather conditions remain go. Just a few clouds, some scattered clouds, winds at 10 knots, wave heights just about 4 feet. A gentle day in the Pacific for the homecoming of Integrity's astronauts.
And some other time, I was just trying to remember what I was thinking about where they had, where some mess ups had happened and caused not exactly some great things happening.
Back in EI attitude.
EI being entry interface.
We see the same on board, Jackie.
I just went ahead and
Conversion is complete. Crew and vehicle are configured for entry.
everybody is ready to hunker down and be ready to go. Barreling hot at about 5,000 plus degrees Fahrenheit.
To BFS. And Houston, in instruction 509, we are not below 0.2.
Integrity, no action required.
Integrity.
Don't know yet.
6 minutes away from entry interface. We will hit the first traces of Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet, traveling about 34,882 feet per second. Range to splashdown at that point will be 1,701 nautical miles.
And unlike the space shuttle, they had to do this right the first time. They don't have the ability to wave off a touchdown. As far as what we saw, we don't know, although when they were doing an attitude change, they did actually say that they were going to have an LOS, or loss of signal.
Communications with the vehicle and the crew during a 6-minute blackout period, when a plasma shield will build up around the spacecraft due to the ionization, due to heating effects.
And
Flight Dynamics has just confirmed we will have a blackout period of exactly 6 minutes in duration.
Oh, wow.
And once again, that's due to the fact that a plasma buildup around the vehicle will prevent communications and data, so we will not be able to talk to the crew members at that time, nor will we receive data here in the flight control room.
Houston, everything is looking good on board. Just confirm no pre-EI downloads.
Houston concurs.
That blackout period to begin at 6:53 and 54 seconds p.m. Central Time, and again will last about 6 minutes in duration.
And when they were talking about Apollo 10, that was the last ever...
4 minutes away from entry interface.
That was the last planned close thing to the moon ever before Apollo 11. Apollo 10 basically proved the ability to get close to the moon. They didn't actually touch down on the moon. They did everything else pretty much to the book except land on the moon. They used the descent engine, and I think they then jettisoned the descent portion of it, and then fired the ascent engine to bring them back up to rendezvous with the Apollo 10 craft, and then docked up and headed back home. And of course, later that year, 1969, is of course when Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins would all go to the moon. And the other
from Integrity, as it crosses from southwest to northeast across the Pacific Ocean, 3 minutes from entry interface. "16.5 minutes till splashdown."
And the
USS John P. Murtha and the recovery team is on station and in position, as are the airborne imagery assets that we hope to receive imagery from as Artemis enters the Earth's atmosphere and through parachute deployment.
We're about ready to hit entry interface in about 2 minutes. And the other other crewed Apollo missions during that time, Apollo 7 was the first crewed Apollo launch.
All of Integrity systems
orbited the Earth.
The crew is ready to complete its mission just 15.5 minutes from now. All of the activities today have gone off in perfect fashion. No issues with the vehicle, no issues with the crew. And the weather at the splashdown site is go.
And Apollo 8 was the first crewed flyby, the first planned flyby, and the last one until just now. Apollo 9 was the first entire stack launch which basically included the Lunar Excursion Module, or LEM, sometimes just abbreviated to just LM, or Lunar Module. Apollo 10 was a dress rehearsal going all the way to the moon and back, but not actually landing.
Until entry interface.
So 1 minute, they're about ready to actually start entering the Earth's atmosphere, and pretty soon we'll start to see the earliest wisps of plasma starting to wrap around the ship, and then we'll lose contact. I bet about half a minute after entering, hitting entry interface.
Until entry interface.
We're about a minute away.
1 minute, 20 seconds until the expected start of our 6-minute blackout.
Integrity, 1 minute to a 6-minute blackout.
Integrity.
I already see it. I see it already getting slightly faster. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I do too. Yep, it's starting to go. It's starting to really barrel now.
Ten seconds till entry interface.
Coming up on entry interface about now.
And we have crossed the threshold, now entering the Earth's atmosphere.
They've just called entry interface, and now we're in the process of changing the attitude. Look at it. It is really starting to book now, and now we're starting to see, I'm not sure if some of that is thruster firing or the start of the plasma starting to envelop the crop. There it goes now. We now have heating going up, and pretty soon we're going to lose track. We're going to lose contact with Integrity for about 6 minutes. We may have just lost it.
And as predicted, we've entered our communications blackout. This will be a 6-minute blackout period. No voice, no data from the crew.
An interesting thing is that apparently Starship is so big.
We're 30 seconds away from the anticipated point of peak heating on the vehicle, where temperatures will rise to about 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the true test of our trajectory.
I wonder if that's the
and from
imagery.
The G5 aircraft in
different
vicinity
aircraft.
Of the splashdown zone, this view of Integrity.
Oh yeah, there she is.
So that pinpoint of light shows the vehicle as it enters the period of peak heating in the Earth's atmosphere, the first tug of gravity being felt by Integrity's astronauts since their launch back on April 1st.
So at the top of the hour, we should be able to see them again.
4.5 minutes until the end of the blackout period. Time to splash down, 11 minutes, 33 seconds.
Pretty close to being on the money. Because I was looking at information before this morning before I left for work, and I was just seeing when the actual splashdown they were estimating it to be, and that would be 5:07 p.m. local time here in California, 8:07 p.m. on the East Coast, 7:07 for the folks in over at the Johnson Space Center, 8:07 p.m. for the folks at the Kennedy Space Center.
The landing and support officer reports that the P3 has acquisition on integrity.
P3 in this case being the Lockheed P3 that used to be a maritime.
3.5 minutes left in this blackout period.
There's an animation
of the plasma buildup around the spacecraft and the repelling of that heat on Integrity's heat shield.
About 4 minutes from exiting the blackout. And like I said, during that particular part of John Glenn's mission, they had no idea this was going to happen. And Mom said that she was absolutely scared, along with her mom and the rest of her family at the time, that they were worried that maybe they had lost him. And then once John Glenn's voice came back, everybody was relieved. And of course, nowadays we know this happens.
That airborne assets in the vicinity of the splashdown zone do have a visual on Integrity.
Anyway,
Still
like
2
I was,
minutes and 40 seconds left in our blackout period.
and like I said earlier,
Splashdown 9 minutes 35 seconds.
And like I was saying earlier about Starship, it is so big it can even get even in the hottest part of the reentry can actually they can actually get signal out because it's so large.
Multiple airborne assets as part of the recovery team all have visuals on Integrity.
And I have reasons for actually not covering Starship. If anything goes to the moon, I'm going to have to think about it because that would be probably more important than my reasons for doing this.
The WB-57 flying in the splashdown zone also has a visual.
Oh boy, can't wait to see that because the WB-57.
And the Navy helos also have visuals.
The WB-57, like I said, is based. Some of them are originally RB-57s, which are high altitude planes, which
still do not have communications from the crew.
They're very close to being the same as have the same wing aspect ratio as a U-2, but I don't think they fly nearly as high as the U-2 does. Very, very wide. Wider than the normal B-57 Canberra, which is a licensed copy of the English Electric Canberra, which was one of the first ever so-called 50-plus club in terms of various aircraft that have been in service with their original launch launch customers, as it were.
From the crew, we should be out of the blackout period less than a minute from now.
Okay, here we go. Thanks for covering this, by the way, and extra info. Nice to know about it. Thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words because I really want to at least talk about some of this stuff because there's a lot of this stuff that this can actually be helpful to know some of this stuff, and also to put
processing data from Integrity,
giving a bit of a historical perspective, especially when we're talking about John Glenn's versus Alan Shepard's and Virgil Grissom's flights.
Landing and support officer reports the small boats are en route to the splashdown target zone.
And like I said, a good many of you watching, there to go. It looks like that might be from the WB-57. And it uses a much wider version, a much wider wingspan than the normal B-57. And that is by the Glenn L. Martin Company, and they modified it for reconnaissance purposes for the RB-57 by General Dynamics.
Passing through 150,000 feet, our trajectory is perfect.
Oh, look at that. That is beautiful.
Intermittent views.
Probably from
Integrity. Still waiting to establish voice communication.
We're about 6 minutes away from splashdown.
Integrity, Houston, comm check, post-blackout.
Houston, Integrity.
Yes! They made it through!
Your trajectory is nominal, and your recovery teams have visual.
Guidance looks good.
No action for the enabled internal camera controller fail.
Big cheers from the viewing room here in Mission Control as voice communication reestablished with Commander Reed Wiseman.
And now the next main event is going to be deployment of the drogue parachutes to start slowing it down from about 500 miles an hour down to about 100 miles an hour.
Passing 100,000 feet now.
Now they're in SR-71, no, not quite SR-71 territory. I think it is pretty close to it anyway. Beautiful picture, although I'm not sure why it's getting so. I wonder if the waiting on deployment of the drogues. There we go. Now we have a full color view of it.
Controller fail is no cab 1 views of the chutes.
Integrity.
We're processing good data through the GPS system. A good view of integrity. Time to splash down 4.5 minutes. And a view of integrity from the WB-57.
Oh, that's beautiful.
50,000 feet.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's beautiful. Look at it. She's coming down. Waiting on deployment of the drogue parachutes.
The pyros are armed for forward bay cover jettison.
And after that, they will get ready to deploy the. They'll fire off the mortars with the drogue parachute, and that will do the initial slowdown from right around airliner speeds of about 500 miles an hour, for about Mach 0.58. There go the drogues.
There go the first series of
there's that. That's the drogue. I'm sorry. Drogues are deployed. They're now slowing down to about 100 miles an hour. Beautiful. Beautiful.
We copy. We see them.
Next up, the deployment of pilot parachutes that will pull the main chutes out. Time to splash down 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Oh, look at this. This is gorgeous. Oh, my God. Waiting on waiting for cutting loose of the drogues and deployment of the pilot chutes to pull out and start reefing the main parachutes.
We see the same on board.
Beautiful.
Passing through 10,000 feet. Still on.
Now we're in airliner territory. Not quite at airliner cruise territory, but certainly ascending territory. They should be cutting the drogues. There go the drogues, and there go the pilots, and there go the main chutes starting to reef very slowly. So then they go from 100 miles an hour to about 19 to 20 miles an hour. There it goes. They're opening up. They're opening up still slowly.
Activated on integrity.
And now they're fully open.
And we have 3 good main chutes.
Beautiful.
Good 3 main chutes, good reefing, good descent rate.
Good rates, and we see 3 good-looking parachutes.
Beautiful. That is perfect.
Integrity. Cabin pressure indicates no need for hydrazine checks.
Hydrazine being one of the hypergolics.
This is a perfect descent for
pretty much anyway. Yep.
It's crew sounding.
Wait, no, they're still there. They're still in there.
Time to splash down 1 minute 15 seconds.
Nope, they're still in there. They can't eject. Beautiful. This is exactly the way it's supposed to do.
Spanning 694,481 miles from its launch from the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st, and a trip around the moon.
I talk every now and again about how C comes into the equation when it comes to doing stuff at, like, for example, using stuff at, say, direct PC distances. Each direction from the ground to the satellite and from the satellite to the ground is 25,000 miles each way. Looks like they're in the process of doing thruster fires to get rid of the remainder of the hypergolic propellants.
1,000 feet.
Beautiful. Looks like we're seeing it from the ground now.
Integrity splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
There we go. We got splashdown. Yeah.
7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon.
Great. That is awesome.
Our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
Yes.
And the landing and support officer reports the vehicle is stable 1.
Hell yeah, they're home safe. Yes, they are.
Module uprighting system to maintain that orientation. A perfect bullseye splashdown for Integrity and its 4 astronauts.
Now they're going to have air assets go out there, and they're the 3 main parachutes, which I believe one of the things they'll be doing is cutting them loose. Or I'm not sure if they're going to cut them loose or keep them on the capsule when they get ready to disembark the crew. Where the crew egresses from that into there, and that'll be the first time they've been there. They'll be leaving the capsule since the first.
Splashdown time, 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m. Central Time. We'll get that refined for you. That would put the end of the mission at a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 31 minutes, 35 seconds.
Beautiful.
And we're configuring for very low data rate.
Wait, they can leave the capsule in the water this time?
Once again, splashdown occurring.
Actually, they're not going to be in. They're not going to do that. They're going to bring that into an area where they can.
47 seconds p.m.
Integrity Houston, comm check on VLDR.
Very low data rate.
Houston, we have you loud and clear on VLDR. How else?
We have you the same. We'll meet you over in post-landing.
Perfect communications established.
A journey. We are stable 1, 4 green crew members.
Houston copies all.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members. That is not their complexion. That is the fact that they're in great condition. That's what that means. So stable 1, upright. The crew module uprighting system is being deployed. The 5 airbags being inflated through helium to maintain the upright configuration for the vehicle. This was a textbook entry and a textbook touchdown for Integrity. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen back on Earth after a journey around the moon.
And of course, now they need to get the assets out there to get the craft. I think they're going to bring the craft. I'm not sure if they're going to egress them I don't think I'm going to do that on the water like they did with, say, the Apollo with the Apollo missions, but they'll do something similar to what they do with the Dragon. And they have they'll put it into a bay on, like, say, an aircraft carrier or some sort of amphibian vehicle.
The Signpost system. The airbags are being inflated to maintain a stable one or upright configuration. And there's a good view from one of the naval helicopters hovering overhead. Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members, meaning they're all in excellent shape.
That is good news, because, I mean, it was good enough to get them out of the area of the area of peak heating. To get out of that 5,000 degree heat. And
Integrity Houston for SAR beacon and radio.
SAR beacon is in for 06, and we're powering the radio now. Go ahead.
We see the beacon on. However, the recovery team is not seeing the signal. Your SAR radio uses the same antenna, so you may run into trouble with the radio.
Okay, copy. We are also powering up the sat phone now.
So Integrity is in great shape, and as the crew continues its post-splashdown timelined activities on board, Reed Wiseman once again reporting that all 4 crew members are in excellent shape. And we have 5 inflated airbags to maintain an upright configuration, so that the recovery team can now begin a slow approach to the vehicle. Meanwhile, here in the flight control room, Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling is polling his team of flight controllers for the start of powering down the vehicle after a thorough systems check. We have no toxic gases to be concerned about, so the recovery personnel can approach the vehicle, but not until we have powered down the spacecraft. That's expected to take a few more minutes.
An incredible achievement in space exploration. Yes, it is. And the next big one, of course, will be Artemis II, which, of course, will put people on the moon for the first time since 1972 with Apollo 17. The fact that we got back to the moon is important. And on top of that, they've also gone the furthest that anybody has ever gone thus far, ever. And previous to that,
back on Earth, following its historic flyby of the moon. It was, for all intents and purposes, a textbook mission.
On 2828, but I'll remain on this frequency.
We copy.
Reed Wiseman indicating some trouble with the SARSAT phone on board, but that's not an issue. What is more important is that the vehicle is solid. No issues as we begin the power down of the vehicle to begin the recovery process.
one of the things they'll probably also do is open a valve that equalizes the pressure between the inside with the outside air, and then they can actually power down their life support system, because that was necessary in order to keep them alive throughout the entire mission.
The propulsion officer here in Mission Control reports that we have safed the prop system on Integrity.
Can you say again? That was very weak and broken.
Integrity, Houston did not call.
Ooh.
Copy that, Houston. It might have been on the SAR radio. Stand by.
All of the milestones were executed in perfect fashion. Integrity entering the Earth's atmosphere right on time, reaching its peak speed shortly after a blackout period began. We emerged from the blackout period, but the recovery imagery airborne assets were able to pick up Integrity's descent almost immediately through entry interface, tracking the vehicle all the way down. And finally, you saw the sequence of chute deployments. First, the forward bay cover being pulled off the top of the vehicle by a series of 3 parachutes. Then the drogue chutes were deployed, followed by the 3 main chutes that slowed the splashdown velocity of Integrity to just 19 miles an hour.
So now we're waiting, of course, to get this part's going to take a while, but basically they have to get ready to bring them. I'm not sure if they're going to bring it into a spacecraft hangar. Like I said, something like an amphibious bay where they can flood it with some water in order to bring it in, and then pump the water out so they can then close the bay up.
With no joy on SAR and SAT phone, we'd like you to command an additional 15 minutes for a total of 30-minute power down delay.
All right, Jackie, we have selected T/D+30. No joy on SAR radio or sat phone. And stand by, we have the master diver on SAR radio. Please hold comms.
Don't think they got someone.
Hey, Lily. Excuse me. Hey, Jackie, we just got the master diver on SAR.
Sounds like we're getting ready to do actually being able to get them out of the craft. There we go. We got a boat coming in.
A good view of one of the fast boats.
Integrity Houston, if you are happy with your comm with master diver, you can go back to the 15-minute power down.
Okay, stand by. Yeah, we'll confirm here in a second.
The crew on board Integrity coordinating with the flight control team in Houston here in Mission Control on the timing of the power down of the vehicle, which will be the precursor to the recovery teams approaching the spacecraft. There are no issues with Integrity. We've had a bit of broken capability in establishing a SARSAT or satellite phone communications capability between the crew on board Integrity and the recovery team. That will get sorted out here shortly. There's plenty of cooling on board Integrity, so there's no rush to begin the power down.
I'm trying to call you on the sat phone and not getting an answer there either.
Concur. We haven't had anything come through.
They have to fully power. So they had to fully power down, power off the Integrity. At this point, don't know just yet. Before getting it in, possibly. But one of the things,
if you could relay to recovery that we hear them, but it does not. But it does not appear as though they are hearing us.
looks like they have marker lights deployed and lit.
Houston copies, and Reed, just to confirm, you are pushing the PTT on the radio.
Hey, I forgot I had something to do. Oh yeah, that's always fun.
To sort out the communications between Integrity and the recovery teams. We are standing by for the initiation of the power down procedures. That, as you see, the recovery
there you go.
teams
Thank you so much for the follow, and you have a great rest of your day. And thank you so much for coming on by. I appreciate it. You have a great rest of your day, and Hope to see you the next time.
Will be the port of call for the crew as they're being extracted one by one from the vehicle.
That's what I forgot. Thank you so much, and you have a great rest of your day.
Integrity Houston for sat phone. We are going to attempt to call you.
Good idea. Standing by.
And Jackie, yes, we are pushing the push to talk, the two buttons on the left side of the radio below.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess that's what you meant to say, is that you forgot to do that. Fair enough. But yeah, this has been
We copy all,
really
and,
good to
just
see.
Confirm you are seeing that you're touchdown plus 3030 for power, correct?
That's affirmative.
Now I've got aerial assets inbound.
We are trying a backdoor approach to have mission control here call the crew on their satellite phone. This is all part of the coordination for the power down of the vehicle that will initiate the actual recovery operation. The first boats with the Navy divers on board are standing by, waiting to close in on Integrity to begin the process of erecting the large inflatable raft that's called the front porch that will be where the astronauts are extracted from so that they can have a few minutes to get their land legs back before they're hoisted aboard the Navy helicopters for the flight back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha.
And of course, one of the things they always do, and one of the things that they did when they went to the moon, when they came back, was for the first time that they
Houston, please don't reply. NRD, very weak, but readable. Master diver, we can hear, but they cannot hear us.
Anyway, the first time they went to the moon, the crew of Apollo 11 were put into the basically a vehicle, and basically they were held in a quarantine for a few days. And on top of that, they actually had to clear customs, believe it or don't. And and one of the things that they brought in were moon rocks, and the place that they were coming from was in fact the moon. And in fact, I was actually aboard the USS Hornet back in October of 24, and I could actually see the actual.
On OE1, is there any chance to tie us into NRD?
The actual vehicle that Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins were in, they had that, as well as where the actual module was sitting, as well as the path between those two, where they went from basically in suits that to keep them from inadvertently bringing moon germs in.
This is Mission Control, Houston. While we stand by for the establishment of communications between Integrity and the recovery team that is basically standing by very close to the spacecraft, we're going to go to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha, where Megan Cruz is standing by with Administrator Jared Isaacman.
Let's see what they have to say.
Hey, Rob, yeah, just such an honor to be able to be here on the ship, to be able to share and experience this moment with everyone together. And of course, as you just said, yes, here with NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman. Administrator, how did you feel getting to witness this and seeing NASA at its best?
Oh, I mean, I'm honestly, I'm still at a loss for words. I mean, you know, like the childhood Jared right now can't believe what I just saw. I mean, almost been waiting my whole lifetime to see this, and then as NASA administrator, I just couldn't be more proud of the entire workforce, the years, the effort, the late nights, all the hard work from across the country that contributed to this incredible moment right now. And yeah, incredibly grateful too for our teams here on the John P. Murtha right now.
Yeah, look at them behind us here.
Got everybody. Hey, what do you guys think? We just brought some astronauts back from the moon, huh?
Yeah, indeed.
Unbelievable. Thank you. Yeah, so grateful to the Navy, the sailors that are here, the NASA teams. I mean, this is a joint effort that's on their way right now. These recovery forces are getting out to our Orion spacecraft, to Integrity, get our astronauts back on the ship safely.
Yeah, and this is not just an accomplishment for NASA. This is an accomplishment for humanity. Again, a historic mission to the moon and back. How does this make you feel, and what do you hope people take away from this?
Well, I'll tell you, you know, I think about the crew members that we've all had an opportunity to observe over the last 10 days, right? I mean, they're absolutely professional astronauts. I mean, wonderful communicators, almost poets. But then I think these were the ambassadors from humanity to the stars that we sent out there right now. And I can't imagine a better crew than the Artemis II crew that just completed a perfect mission right now. So yes, it's a huge moment for everybody, right? I mean, we are back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon, bringing them back safely, and to set up for a series more. I mean, this is not a once in a lifetime, which you hear sometimes around here. It's like, this was a once in a lifetime. No, it's not. This is just the beginning. We are going to get back into doing this with frequency, sending missions to the moon until we land on it in 2028 and start building our base.
Yeah, are we going to build on the momentum for Artemis III? I mean, it's just around the corner.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's, you know, part of me too. Like, I can't wait to get the crew off of Integrity right now, but also getting Integrity back on this ship so we can start taking a look at it, because all that data is so precious to us right now.
Yeah, especially considering now that they're
thermal protection system. We're going to want to download all the data they couldn't transmit back to us and use that to inform Artemis III. But we're already making progress, right? You had SRB segments already showing up at KSC. Core stage for Artemis III is rolling out on April 20th. We're getting Mobile Launcher 1 back in.
Oh, they're getting everything ready for Artemis 3 already.
On a mission well accomplished for Artemis 2, and at the same time, we got to start getting ready for 3.
Amazing. And last question, you know, for people who joined us for all 10 days to see what we can accomplish together with our international partners, what do you think about the fact that we're going to keep doing this more and more and more?
It's incredibly exciting. I mean, yes, it's the contributions, like the best and brightest across the NASA workforce from across the country, our industry partners, our international partners. We had a Canadian Space Agency astronaut on board in Jeremy. We had the European Service Module. And you think, in the days leading up to this launch, I mean, 48 hours prior to launching Artemis II, I was meeting with the Italian Space Agency. We signed a memorandum of understanding to build a habitation module on the moon. I mean, you have countries, all of our allies and partners coming together saying, we are committed to this effort. We are returning to the moon. We're doing it to stay. We are building that enduring presence. We are going to master the skills on the surface of the moon so someday we can undertake missions to Mars. It's just an incredibly exciting time, and we're not going at it alone. We're bringing everybody along with us.
Absolutely. And speaking of everyone, one more time, we're going to ask the crew here, you guys ready to land on the moon?
Yep. Can't wait to see that again.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, well, thank you so much, Administrator. Appreciate you being here. We're, of course, going to stay on to watch the crew get extracted from Orion, so stay tuned, and we'll see you back here shortly.
Still absolutely unreal that.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Administrator Isaacman. We are in the process of working to establish that communications link and to establish the procedures that will lead to the power down of the spacecraft, which is gently bobbing in the Pacific following a bullseye touchdown that occurred at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, 2.5 hours before sunset in the Pacific southwest of San Diego. We have once again heard from the crew during that interview opportunity with the administrator, and we have 4 healthy crew members on board.
That is the most important part of that. is that they're there, they're alive, they're in good spirits.
Have confirmation that the vehicle has been powered down.
Oh, they have shut down the power.
Procedures. So we have vehicle powered down, and the flight control team.
Now it's in full color.
Director Rick Henfling has handed over mission authority to the Exploration Ground Systems team out in the Pacific. Now, we will physically not get off console with this team until the crew has been extracted into the front porch, that inflatable raft that will be erected along the side hatch of Integrity. So we're standing by for that in the next step in the recovery procedures. But everything is in great shape, and we have 4 healthy crew members on board the vehicle.
That's another thing about the about Orion. It has much the same thermal protection system on the rest of it as around the sides, not the underside, but basically they have much the same kind of tile type setup around the upper part of the vehicle.
By the book, no issues, perfect trajectory for Integrity that was culminated with one final raise burn to improve the angle of attack for the vehicle as it entered the Earth's atmosphere. All of that flight dynamics computation worked like a charm.
Anyway, back to what I was saying about the Apollo missions earlier. Apollo 7 was the first crewed vehicle, the first crewed Apollo vehicle, and that went to Earth orbit. Apollo 8 was the first
So we are standing by
flight to the moon.
The recovery team to approach Integrity and begin the process of erecting that inflatable raft called the front porch, which will see the crew members be extracted from the hatch of Orion into that inflatable raft before they're hoisted aboard 2 Navy helicopters in a variety of different configurations. Each crew member will be hoisted in sequential fashion, in alternating fashion, 2 crew members for each helicopter before they turn around to head back to the John P. Murtha. Once on the deck of the ship, they'll be brought into medical bay for comprehensive medical exams. But Reed Wiseman has reported several times that the crew is in excellent shape.
I think they'll end coverage right around the time they extract people and they start flying back toward the ship before they get before they head them into the ship. So, just an advisory ahead of time.
So, just to recap, it has been.
Well, we see what we can do.
26.5
Yeah, I want to do that. I definitely want to do that.
The splashdown of Integrity in the Pacific. The vehicle is in excellent shape. It performed like a champ all the way down through the Earth's atmosphere. All of the vehicle functions were checked off in excellent trip hammer fashion. The parachutes all deployed as planned. Splashdown occurring at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. And after a bit of a tussle to try to establish a communications link with the recovery team, we were finally able to run through the procedures for the powering down of the vehicle. We've handed over mission authority to the Exploration Ground Systems folks out in the Pacific, and the recovery team will be approaching the vehicle shortly to erect the inflatable raft called the front porch before opening the hatch to Integrity to bring the crew members onto that raft before they're hoisted onto 2 Navy helicopters, 2 crew members for each helicopter before they're flown back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha.
And by the time they had been moving the whole time under those rockets that launched them on the first, they had been moving the whole time until the moment they hit the until they splashed down. So they were flying this whole time, and basically they were moving the whole time. The only time during any of these missions, like the Apollo missions, anybody ever stopped was when they touched down on the moon themselves. And back to the Apollo missions. Apollo 8 was the first crewed flight to the moon, not unlike this one. It was basically a full up stack. The only thing is they did not have a lunar excursion module, or LEM, or just LM, or lunar module for short. Apollo 9 was the first full stack, including the LEM, but it only went as far as low Earth orbit. Apollo 10 was a dress rehearsal to the moon, but not actually landing on the moon, proving the entire stack, except for, of course, the landing itself, which would happen on Apollo 11, where we, of course, had the two of the astronauts go out on the moon, notably Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin, aka Buzz Aldrin. Apollo 12 almost was a disaster due to being hit by lightning twice during its ascent, and due to an obscure piece of knowledge that one of the people on the ground had. What they did, they had to, I believe it's SCE to aux, and that saved the mission, and they actually managed to get power back and completed the mission normally. Apollo 13 was supposed to have been, of course, a normal landing, which of course they could not do because of an explosion of one of the liquid oxygen tanks in the service module, requiring the crew take up residence in the lunar module. Apollo 14 was the first after 13, and that actually was the first landing after
Control, Houston.
After Apollo 13.
To the flight dynamics folks, we have a bit of a refinement on the splashdown time for you. Their computation shows a splashdown time of 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time. 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time. That would equate to a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 15 seconds.
And in 15, 16, and 17 were the remaining
once again, from Flight Dynamics,
moon landings.
A splashdown time of 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time. That would equate to a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 15 seconds.
And I believe, I'm not sure if 15, but 16 and 17 had the lunar rover in that mission.
Reports from the Pacific indicate that the recovery team, in communications with the crew aboard Integrity, that the crew remains in excellent shape as they await the approach of the team for a final hazard gas evaluation before they move to the side of the vehicle to erect the inflatable life raft called the front porch.
One of the things they're looking for is the residues from the hypergolic propellants that they're using for the RCS, or reaction control system, that's used to maneuver. Those are the thrusters that are used while in space.
Again, no issues with
to move them
Integrity.
around.
The vehicle is powered down. All of its systems are now safed. We have handed over mission authority to the Exploration Ground Systems folks in the Pacific, but we will not stand down and have the entry flight control team depart its positions until that inflatable raft, the front porch, is erected, the hatch open, and the crew having exited the vehicle. So that's the next step in the recovery process that will lead to the hoisting of the crew members. For 2 crew members for each helicopter, they'll be hoisted to a pair of Navy helicopters that will then fly a short distance back to the USS John P. Murtha. What you're looking at is one of the fast boats circling the vehicle to make a hazard assessment.
Probably doing more HAZGAS checks to make sure they can actually open, because one of the things that happened on what was sometimes is considered Apollo 18, which happened in 1974 as part of the what is called the ASTP Apollo Soyuz test project, where they had 3 astronauts and 2 cosmonauts, including the first person to ever walk in space, Alexei Leonov, take place in the first multinational docking in space in this case between the United States and the Soviet Union. And what happened is after splashdown, they opened up the equalization valves, and unfortunately, there was still a bit of HAZGAS residue. And I think Deke Slayton, one of the astronauts who was going to fly aboard one of the Mercury flights, but unfortunately had some. He had a case of arrhythmia, which kept him from actually flying. But he ultimately managed to get to the point where he could actually fly this particular mission. Unreal that I'm actually seeing this now, and I've seen pictures from the old flights, and like I was saying before, for Apollo 11, I actually walked that area where Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins in basically essentially what amounts to what looks like HAZGAS. Well, I don't know how to particularly say this, but anyway, they were in essentially in a quarantine position. They were moving from the Apollo 11 capsule to
once again,
the quarantine vehicle.
Of the recovery of the Artemis crew aboard Integrity. All of the Navy divers and the fast boats are now approaching the spacecraft after conducting a hazard assessment. The vehicle has been powered down. Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling now waiting for the life raft, the front porch, to be erected along the side of the vehicle so that the hatch can be opened and the crew members extracted from Integrity, soon to be hoisted one by one into a pair of Navy helicopters for a short flight back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. If you missed it earlier, we talked to Flight Dynamics and received a more official touchdown time or splashdown time, as it were, of 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Pacific Time. That would equate to a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 15 seconds.
But anyway, they had a mock-up. Let's see, are they scanning the Integrity with that high pole thing? Probably more scanning the area for any kind of hazardous gases, like the various hydrazines that are used for hypergolics. Usually in American cases now anymore, they're using monomethyl hydrazine. In the past, they would use something called Aerozine 50, which is a 50-50 mix between hydrazine and unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine, or UDMH. And that in conjunction with dinitrogen tetroxide, or sometimes simply nitrogen tetroxide, which is represented by the formula N2O4 as the oxidizer. Basically, they're a hypergolic pair, and what they do is when they combine with each other, they immediately ignite on contact. And basically, they have to use hypergolic fuels in order to have immediate and predictable combustion in order to do stuff like maneuvering thrusters. And they've engineered different variants of that. The reason why they're doing that is, like I was saying earlier about what happened to Deke Slayton, is they didn't have gas completely cleared yet. And what happened was I guess they got a lungful of that stuff, and that stuff is nasty shit. Because let's see, hydrazine is pretty poisonous, and particularly it is also carcinogenic. And in the case of dinitrogen tetroxide, or N2O4, oh yeah, it is very bad stuff. It is not only is it extremely toxic, it's also quite corrosive, which is one of the reasons why they can't. In fact, the Titan II missile that was originally used for ballistic missiles, and also for a time for the Gemini program, they couldn't keep them in there. They could store them, not like with, say, cryogenic fuels such as liquid oxygen for an oxidizer, and liquid hydrogen for fuels. Those things they have to be kept at very cold temperatures in order to actually be in liquid form. And but yeah, that's one of the benefits.
To get excellent views from the imagery assets out at sea in the Pacific of integrity. We continue to get good reports from the landing and support officer, who's in contact with the recovery team, that the crew is in excellent shape, no issues. They're just currently biding their time, waiting for the front porch to be erected. We have no hazardous hazard gases and no hazardous situation with the vehicle. It performed perfectly all the way down from entry interface to its splashdown in the Pacific at 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time. And as you can see,
there they are.
Phalanx of recovery personnel now pulling up alongside of integrity. This includes Navy divers and Navy flight surgeon and other recovery personnel who have trained for several years for this recovery process.
But yeah, it sounds like they've managed to get the area clear of any kind of hazardous gases. And like I said earlier, with Deke Slayton getting a breath of that noxious stuff. Ooh.
At this hour, some 41 minutes following splashdown, the vehicle has been powered down. There's no hazardous gas emanating from the vehicle. That's why the first team of recovery personnel has been able to pull alongside integrity, and the reports continue to come in that the 4 astronauts are in excellent shape.
And that's probably what those devices you were seeing earlier were. Where basically they were just checking the air. They were sampling the air for any kind of potential hazardous gases, like I said, MMH and DNTO, which are the 2 hypergolic agents. And like I was trying to say earlier, yes, they've actually done some engineering of a kind of hypergolic fuel, which is a lot less toxic than the hydrazines and dinitrogen tetroxide, which are horribly, horribly, horribly toxic in both cases. In the case of, I believe, the hydrazine, any of the hydrazines are carcinogenic, and of course, dinitrogen tetroxide is very corrosive too. And one of the vehicles that actually used, like I said, one of the vehicles that actually used these hypergolic fuels was the Titan series, and the Titan II missiles that. And there were actually at least one. There's been at least one accident where they actually had a fire where they had the where something hit, and then the fuel and the oxidizer managed to light up, and I don't know what kind of a casualty event that was. I don't remember off the top of my head, but and one of the things they did that was different also with the Gemini program, which was the only crewed vehicle in the United States space program that actually used hypergolic propellants.
Control Houston, continuing to watch the initiation of the recovery of Integrity's astronauts. One by one, they'll be brought out of the spacecraft onto a large inflatable raft just a short time from now. In the meantime, we can go back to the USS John P. Murtha, where my colleague Megan Cruz is standing by to provide her situation report.
Let's see what we
Megan,
got.
Can you hear us?
Hey, Rob. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Yeah, we're back here on the bow of the recovery ship where there are still plenty of people peering out into the water. We are not very far from the action everyone is seeing on their screen now. The Orion spacecraft, Integrity, in the ocean, surrounded by a number of recovery boats. As Rob has been saying, in those recovery boats, NASA and Navy personnel
Got a lot more personnel on the water.
To get the astronauts out of Orion. In some of our wide shots, you can probably see that there are 6 boats out in the water. More than 40 people out in the water right now on those boats.
Now we're just waiting for them to put that raft alongside the hatchway so they can come out and be hoisted two to a helicopter each for flight back to the ship in order to be checked out for overall health after the last 10 days. Actually, almost 10 days. There are the lights on there to, I guess, indicator lights to say that's. I think what we're seeing is the essentially the first of all the forward end of it, and on top of that, what is considered the quote-unquote top.
Is to set up the front porch and the stabilization collar. You might also refer.
And we're on the starboard side of the vehicle right now.
Basically, just to make sure that Orion stays upright, doesn't sway in the water too much, again, to make it easier for recovery forces to get the astronauts out.
I actually have to double check for sure to see whether or not they actually used ablative
Splashdown in the Pacific Ocean just after
an ablative heat shield.
Pacific time here. It's a requirement by NASA to be able to get the crew out of Orion within 2 hours of splashdown. So doing great on time so far. Plenty of time. No rush either. I was speaking to NASA flight surgeon Rick Schuring earlier in this broadcast, and he said to me, no rush to get the crew out. Just want to make sure that they're feeling good. And whenever they're ready to take their step out of Orion and onto that large raft, the front porch, folks will be ready.
And of course, they have to get that raft out and deployed and placed alongside the hatch. Yep, there's the hatch. There's the hatch. The hatch is open.
As there are mission audio loops in mission control in Houston, there is a mission audio loop here on the ship, and it was just reported out that the side hatch is open.
Yep, and we just saw it open.
The hatch of Integrity is open. You're getting these beautiful shots from our aerial assets. The ship itself, where I'm on, just 3,000 yards away. Again, plenty of people on the boat here, glued to the side closest to where they can see all this action. And again, with just 3,000 yards separating us, great views from the bow here.
And we're on the underside of the vehicle, and we're at the hatch, and the hatch is on the starboard side.
One of the Navy personnel.
No, not yet. Oh yeah. The PAO folks are on the ship where they ultimately will be airlifted to.
In they go. In total, 4 will
Oh,
go
that's
into
the.
Orion. So it'll be a little bit of a tight squeeze, but the goal is to have a recovery personnel with each astronaut assessing them.
People are coming out, I guess. I guess that's the actual raft that they need to be on. I think there's like... They're egressing, I believe.
Boats getting closer now. Again, that one that's right up against Orion, those are the divers that will go in to the spacecraft to check on each of the astronauts. These other boats will begin doing a number of things, putting on that stabilization collar onto Orion, building that front porch. Eventually, they will retrieve the parachutes.
Oh, so
tow Orion back to the well deck of the recovery ship here.
They are going to be doing something like that, where I was talking about an amphibious ship where they have an area they can flood with water, so they can essentially bring it in there without having to hoist it out of the water. Basically, what you do is you bring it into an area while still on the water, and then close the other side, and then pump all the water out.
Get their assessment of the crew inside of Orion. Why don't we toss it back to Rob for an update?
Yeah, thank you, Megan. Here in Mission Control, Flight Director Rick Henfling and the entry team of flight controllers still on duty. The vehicle has been powered down for some time now. There are no hazardous gases emanating from integrity. That, of course, allowed the recovery personnel to approach the vehicle and then open the hatch to begin the initial medical assessment of the crew, as you just indicated. Now we're standing by for the erection of that inflatable.
Oh, they hasn't. Oh, they haven't done it. Okay. Oh, they haven't egressed yet. I see.
Will enable the crew to be extracted one by one onto the raft, have a moment or two to get their land legs back before they're hoisted into 2 hovering Navy helicopters, 2 crew members for each helicopter, for a short flight back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. All of Integrity's systems operated flawlessly throughout the course of the approach,
except for maybe one.
To the Earth, the entry into the Earth's atmosphere, and all of the key milestones that followed in this high-speed return to Earth for Integrity. A mission that spanned more than 694,000 miles from the vehicle's launch from the Kennedy Space Center atop the Space Launch System back on April 1st.
Well, I guess I mistook what I thought was going to be the quote unquote front porch, but I guess more of that information is still forthcoming. But yeah, one of the things I'm going to have to do is double check my buttons to make sure that everything is working as it should, but I don't know what happened. Maybe I'm hoping it was just a simple case of Oh God, I don't know what happened. So, but more of that is forthcoming as I get ready to get that fixed. So, I need to do a few other things as well. I need to get in contact with one of the developers of one of the plugins I use, especially because that is what's keeping me used from OBS Studio 32.1.
The last time that the Apollo program saw a splashdown in the Pacific was Apollo 17 back on December 19th, 1972. So for the first time in 53 and a half years, we have reenacted that with the arrival of Integrity's astronauts as they flew around the moon in that historic lunar flyby that began with a trans-lunar injection burn that took them out of Earth orbit following 24 hours of a high Earth orbit trajectory. The high Earth orbit trajectory enabled flight controllers here to have a full 24 hours to evaluate the systems on Integrity and the condition of the crew before they would commit to flying to the moon.
Yeah, according to Amy Shearer Title, who is a space historian, one of the things that they were talking about with the Apollo flights, they quite literally were in a parking orbit for less than one or two orbits. In fact, they were probably right on doing a translunar injection burn, literally within an hour or so of launch. I don't know the exact timeline on that particular profile. I'd actually have to go check that video. It was a short and one of her shorts that I need to take a look at. Interesting stuff because they basically did a staged. They did two different burns. One at the perigee, which is the lowest point of the orbit, to raise the perigee a bit. Normally they do any kind of circularization burns at the apogee or the highest point of the orbit. What they did is they did a short burn of about maybe half a minute to raise the perigee, because at first what happens when they do a crewed launch, they always do what is called they basically do a very long suborbital launch. Basically, they want to make sure everything is working as it should, and then and only then they will actually do an apogee raise burn, which will allow, a perigee raise burn, but they do it from the apogee side of the orbit. They did that with the space shuttle, and then subsequently with the Crew Dragon. In the case of the Crew Dragon, what happens is that they do the launch, and as soon as they do SECO, for the second stage, they discard the second stage, and then what they do is they stay in that particular attitude, which is an elliptical orbit. But in this case, the elliptical orbit will take them back down into the atmosphere if, for whatever reason, they need to come back. So they can actually do that. And that's also how the shuttle launches work as well, for two reasons. One, to bring the vehicle back in case they need to get back in something resembling a hurry, and as well to discard the external tank. Plus, apparently, they have additional jets on the tank to make it sort of tumble through the atmosphere as it re-enters, to make it disintegrate that much more quickly. Yep, they just put looks like they have a protective cover over the hatch. Not to mention, I think, not just the protective, also can be visible.
Having been opened to set the stage for the erection of the inflatable life raft, known as the front porch, to be erected alongside the spacecraft for the extraction of the crew. Let's play for you an interview that my colleague Megan Cruz conducted on the USS John P. Murtha with Navy diver First Class David McMahon that explains how this process is unfolding.
Okay, Davey, so you and some of your team, one last look over of the stabilization collar, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what is this stabilization collar?
This is what's going to stabilize the capsule out there in the ocean. We don't know how good the weather or the waves will be that day, so this will help prevent any unnecessary occurrences from happening, stabilizing the capsule and the astronauts inside.
So basically this is a float that will go around Orion. I'm assuming that what they're doing right now, these are the lines that will attach the collar.
Like a flotation collar, as I've also heard it called.
And so what are they doing here?
So we've got the lower line that will secure the inflation device before we inflate it. That gives us the go-ahead that it's secure in its space, and then we'll inflate it, and then once that is done, we'll undo all the carabiners and get this orange line on top tied in the same fashion, and then this will be secured to the capsule, and the astronauts can safely take their first steps out of the capsule onto the front porch.
Okay, and how long?
Oh, so that's what it is. That's what the front. That's what that flotation collar is called. Why? That one is what's actually called the front porch. Okay, now I get it.
Then they set up what's called the front porch here.
That's great.
Oh, that's the front porch. Okay, I get it now.
Waiting room for the astronauts to sit in while we wait for the helicopters to show up and grab them.
Oh, they do the first is the flotation collar, so then they can make it even more stable on the ocean surface.
And then what happens here?
We have higher trained medical personnel also on board the front porch that will give them lookovers and just make sure they're okay while we wait for the helicopters to show up.
Okay. How does it feel, I mean, your team, you, to be part of a mission that's returning astronauts from the moon in more than 50 years?
We all feel extremely honored to be a part of this, as well as a bigger mission for the Navy and joining up with NASA to do great things.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like you and your team are ready?
Yes, very ready.
Cool. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Once again, the recovery operations are continuing out in the Pacific. We shortly should see that life raft, the front porch, erected alongside the side hatch of the vehicle.
I wonder what's going on there.
A number of flight controllers have come into the flight control room to receive congratulations from entry flight director Rick Henfling. But we're going to stick with our operations out in the Pacific as we await the extraction of the 4 crew members who are reported to be in excellent condition.
But back to the whole thing about when the first crewed flight to the moon to land.
Again, while we stand by for that front porch to be erected alongside of the side hatch of the vehicle, let's go back to the USS John P. Murtha and Megan Cruz. Megan?
Get to that in just a moment.
Hey, Rob. Pausing now to listen to some internal audio loops. Again, the operations team here on the ship communicating with everyone out on the water. It seems like currents are hindering them a little bit from unfurling and inflating the stabilization collar as well as the front porch.
Oh boy.
But again, the requirement to get the crew out within 2 hours of splashdown, plenty of time. So no concerns just yet. But as calm as the water looks, yeah, it looks like it's hindering the teams just a tad.
Anyway, on the deck of the Hornet, they have
some of our shots. That side hatch still open. Again, inside there are now 8 people inside.
I guess they're doing initial checks of everyone to see how everyone's doing.
Navy divers, all with medical training, each assigned to an astronaut each.
And that particular,
sure that they're comfortable, feeling good. as you've heard us say in the broadcast, you know, they expect a little bit of discomfort. Again, these astronauts just traveled back to Earth at 25,000 miles an hour, a nearly 695,000 mile journey around the moon. If you think you get car sick.
Oh boy. And but anyway, on the deck of the
boats out there, lots of gear with them, just in case, right? As we said, the crew reported feeling great, but again, all those folks out there in case they weren't, right? NASA is all about making sure we think about every situation that can happen, and so of course wanted to be ready in case any of our astronauts needed more medical attention while out there in the water.
And aboard the on that particular deck of the
teams again trying to set up the stabilization collar and front porch for the crew to get out of Orion.
I guess they're getting buffeted by the currents.
The stabilization collar will keep Orion from swaying as you see it is doing now. And then they will connect the front porch to the stabilization collar so that the crew can take 2 steps and they will be in the front porch.
I'm back. Did I miss anything? Not really. The main thing that they're dealing with right now are currents in the ocean that are hampering efforts to put the put a flotation collar on the base of the Orion spacecraft, and subsequently the front porch, so then the crew can egress.
Again, things proceeding pretty nominally, even if they're fighting some currents out there on the Pacific Ocean.
You might have. I'm not sure if you missed the opening of the hatch, though. They did open the hatch at one point. And they've already, and of course, since then, before then, they also powered down. In fact, there goes the I think that's the flotation collar right there. Oh, you did. Okay.
So that the crew can rest comfortably in the front porch, get placed into harnesses, so that 2 helicopters can lift them off the front porch and onto the USS John Murtha here.
Like I said, on the deck of the
helicopters are going to take turns picking up an astronaut. So again, Helo 1 and Helo 2.
On the deck of the Hornet, they have 2 spots. One has a mock-up of an Apollo spacecraft.
From the undersea medical officer who is inside the capsule with the crew. He is reporting all 4 members are green. All
good.
Of our 4
that is good.
Victor, Christina, Jeremy, green, meaning they are feeling great. Not
awesome.
The complexion of their skin. They are feeling great, happy to be home, and ready to be extracted as soon as possible.
They do, basically they have a mock-up of an Apollo spacecraft in there.
And so,
probably used
we have 2
actual flight
circling
mock-ups too.
The activity you're seeing on the water right now.
Not actually flyable, but basically they're used.
Picking up an astronaut. So Helo 1 will come on in, hover above the front porch, about 40 feet above the front porch. A Navy recovery specialist will be hoisted down into the front porch.
The restricted maneuvering doctrine is in effect.
We'll connect to the first astronaut, which we're expecting to be Christina. And then Helo 2 comes around, picks up Jeremy, while Helo 1 stays above head. And then Helo 1 will come back in for another astronaut, and then Helo 2 for the last astronaut, and then back to the flight deck here on the recovery ship.
Basically, there's a mock-up of an Apollo spacecraft in one spot where Apollo 11 actually stood.
Assistant Artemis Recovery Director Paul Sierpinski. He said helos are a much quicker, safer way to get on board. They did actually consider boats, but then if you think about it, longer time, the crew would have to move through more of the ship. This way the helos will give a more direct, quicker route to the medical bay for our 4 astronauts.
And then at the other end of that particular path, that the astronaut, the Apollo 11 astronauts took on the ship, is the actual quarantine van that was there.
Clouds have dissipated for a clear view from the bow of the recovery ship here.
And that vehicle is exactly where President Nixon actually got to see directly talk to the 3 astronauts in the vehicle once they got out of the once they got into the quarantine vehicle and then doffed their safety clothing and went into flight suits.
Encircling Orion, that is that stabilization collar we've been telling you about. As you saw in that interview just a few minutes ago, they have to first connect it to Orion, and then once it's secured onto Orion, they can inflate it, and then they'll further secure it with other harnesses and lines. About an hour and 10 minutes since splashdown in the Pacific Ocean here. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy back home after a history-making mission to the moon and back. If you missed what we said just a couple of minutes ago,
Looks like one part is already.
The undersea medical officer inside with the crew in Orion, reporting all 4 crew members feeling great.
That's good news, because that's kind of important. It's one of the things that happened near the end of Apollo 7.
Progress being made there on the stabilization collar. It looks like they are beginning to inflate it.
Yep, sure enough. Because I see one side is already out of the water. Dang, this is the longest process. Yeah, it is. Because first of all, they got to stabilize it. Otherwise, it's just going to keep bobbing around like a cork.
In order to get that into the water here shortly and inflate that as well.
Which is good, though. Yeah. Basically, they can't rush this. Because it makes them make sure that they're safe. Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Water right now. And those Navy and NASA personnel have been in the water for now about 4 hours.
They did this with the Apollo as well, the Apollo spacecraft as well.
The reason why they had to get out so early is just to stage everything. And actually here on the ship, when there are flight operations happening, you can't have anything else, right? Just because the flight deck can be a dangerous place, so they just want to focus on planes coming and going from the ship, so that's why they wanted to get the boats in the water to make sure that they have all the time they needed for the flight ops. And then the same crew here out on the water They will stay out in the water for a number of hours after we recover the crew and get them back on the ship, because then they have to recover Orion.
Looks like they got it pretty much good to go.
Looking good around Orion.
Yep.
We're now seeing some recovery personnel getting on to that collar. Again, they need to further attach it to Orion to make sure that it can really prop up the spacecraft. It's basically lifting it up off of the water just a tad. Again, so it's not so...
Bears noting that Soyuz actually lands on land, and so does the Boeing CST-100 Starliner, but the way they actually cushion the landings is a little different. Yeah, it looks like they're really starting to inflate it now. And there's the front porch.
That front porch looks like it's nearly fully inflated as well. You can see a much larger surface area.
The Soyuz uses a couple of very short burning rockets to bring down the speed by quite a bit.
They can stretch their legs a little bit on this front porch, get some fresh air.
There they go. There goes the thing, and they should be hooking it up there in just a minute.
Enjoy this beautiful day here on their home planet.
Right alongside the hatch, I see the very bright yellow cover over the side of the hatch.
Now are about to connect the front porch to the stabilization collar. And at that point, when both are secure, we should soon see astronauts come out of Orion. All these views you see also being fed to the Landing Force Operations Center here on the ship.
Now what we're waiting on is for the egress of all four astronauts.
The mission to have all the views that you're seeing as well. Again, listening to their communication loop here on the ship. Very quiet, which is a good thing. It means things are going pretty nominally, meaning as expected.
Dang, I wish I had a better exposure out there so we could see what's going on. Because the contrast there is just absolute crap.
Again, all this activity happening just 3,000 yards away from the ship. So that means this will be a very quick flight back on the helicopters for the crew. 2-3 minutes, and then they'll be back here on the ship.
I know.
That's a better view. That is so much better. We can actually see what's going on here.
Thumbs up
Looks like we're about to start to egress.
from one of the personnel on the front porch. It looks like they are now getting ready to deploy what they call the Air Rescue Vest, ARV. And so this is the harness that each crew member will get into in order to be hoisted into the helicopters. Again, those helicopters hovering just about 40 feet above the front porch when they're ready to pick up each crew member.
I think we see one right now. They're still well within the time span. They're still well within the 2-hour time frame that they want people to be fully egressed from the vehicle. I think the ones in the helmets are the personnel from the helicopters, or one of them anyway.
This is Mission Control Houston. Behind me, a fairly raucous scene as hundreds of flight controllers have poured into the flight control room here. This is reminiscent of the scene after the final shuttle mission of STS-135, although that was the end of a program. This is only the beginning of a program with the textbook splashdown of Integrity and its 4 astronauts. We're standing by for the crew to be extracted from the spacecraft. Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling invited all of these flight controllers who have contributed to this mission to enter the flight control room to have an opportunity to receive well wishes and to share the mutual glow that exists in the wake of a textbook mission for Integrity. On the front screen here in Mission Control, a sign that says "Welcome Home Integrity, taking humanity back to the moon, going further, and returning safely to Earth."
Indeed.
So all of that jubilation, part of the post-splashdown activities, even as we await the crew being extracted from the vehicle to be hoisted onto Navy helicopters for the trip back to the USS John P. Murtha.
So, yeah, now we're waiting on the extraction of some of the extraction of the astronauts, and then hoisting them into each of 2 helicopters.
Once again here in Mission Control, this view of the Artemis Flight Control Room, known as the White Flight Control Room. This is the old shuttle flight control room, and now is the home of Artemis missions to the moon and beyond. Once again, quite a few flight controllers were invited in by Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling to share in the jubilation following the successful splashdown of Integrity. That splashdown occurring an hour and 22 minutes ago, as we stand by for the completion of the extraction of the crew, and ultimately they're hoisting onto Navy helicopters for a short flight back to the USS John P. Murtha. Splashdown occurred at 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time. I had an opportunity to talk to the head of flight dynamics, Jeff Birch, a moment or two ago. He said the trajectory of Integrity coming through the Earth's atmosphere was so precise, they've never seen anything line up on a ground track like today's entry by Integrity for its splashdown southwest of San Diego.
Wow. Sounds like it outperformed expectations, so that's good.
And the initial, you can hear it.
Sounds like, yep, there's our first astronaut. They just egressed. Yeah, this is great.
Jubilation here in the flight control room. The first crew member is out of integrity. We are expecting the other crew members momentarily to be extracted.
Yep, there's one of them. They just got their... there's another one. I think I see another one right there. Yep. It's either...
2 crew members out.
One of them is doffed... I think both of them have doffed their... I think all of them have doffed their helmets.
Two crew members out, 2 to go. We're about 1 hour from sunset out in the Pacific. Everything continues to go well. Integrity's systems function perfectly during its entry back to Earth. And Reed Wiseman, the commander who will be last out of the vehicle, reported that all the crew members were feeling very well. Crew member number 3 now out. And now standing by for the commander, Reed Wiseman, who will be last out of his ship.
Yes, it is. It is definitely one of the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Integrity spanned 694,000 miles during its journey from launch to splashdown.
And of course, the real fun will come when Artemis 3 rolls around, and they're saying 2028 being the next one.
And we now have Reed Wiseman out of the vehicle, all 4 crew members now out of integrity.
All 4 have safely exited integrity. And now it's time to pluck them off.
4 crew members now on the front porch. And the procedure to begin hoisting them up to these 2 Navy helicopters hovering overhead will begin shortly.
I don't know how quick they'll be doing this. Now that they're actually, yeah, they're still well within their, they're still within the mandated time period to get out of the vehicle. about half an hour away from the end of that. And of course, there's Mission Control. That's, I believe, at Johnson Space Center over in Houston, Texas. There they are. Their backs to us in the front porch.
This is Mission Control Houston. The mission is over, but the melody lingers on as jubilation continues here in the flight control room. We should be expecting NASA's Associate Administrator, Amit Kshatriya, to be joining us shortly for a short interview while the recovery operations continue out in the Pacific. So we'll stand by for that. And then we'll turn it back over to Megan Cruz aboard the USS John P. Murtha.
I'm also trying to find us somewhere to go after when we get ready to raid out. This is Mission Control Houston here in the Artemis Flight Control Room. A number of flight controllers basking in the glory of the successful end of this mission that carried 4 astronauts around the moon on a lunar flyby, and the first test flight of Orion with crew members on board. Splashdown occurring an hour and 32 minutes ago after a flawless descent back into the Earth's atmosphere for the vehicle. Its 4 crew members in good shape, simply enjoying their time right now on the front porch, as it were, the inflatable raft alongside of their Integrity spacecraft. We're expecting Amit Kshatriya, the NASA Associate Administrator, to join us here momentarily for a brief interview before we turn it back over to Megan Cruz aboard the USS John P. Murtha, the recovery ship. Yeah, don't mind me. I'm just working on something ahead of toward the end of the stream. When we get close to the stream, it's end of stream itself. But I got something special for you guys to use.
This is Mission Control Houston. We're about an hour and 34 minutes since the textbook splashdown of integrity in the Pacific to bring home our astronauts. And with us now is Amit Kshatriya, the NASA Associate Administrator. Amit, a little bit of history made tonight, a little bit of history made.
I'm going to have to step away briefly. I'm going to mute the mic, and I will keep things open, but I'm not going to actually go to an AFK slide, so I'll be back in a bit. So stand by. And I'm going to put my, I'm going to pause the mocap, so then at least you'll have a face on there. And I'm going to try and do it such that I don't look super goofy. Anyway, I'll be back shortly.
Always about these teams, the team that's in the water right now, pulling the crew out, the team here in Houston that worked so hard over the last 10 days, no sleep to get this done. You know, we still have some work to do to get the crew to the med bay here on the ship. They all look great coming out, so hopefully that won't be too long. You know, I think we saw the administrator on the boat too, giving his thanks to the Navy team on the Mirtha, which they're just an incredible group of sailors. I was able to visit with them a couple weeks ago. And then if you pull it all the way back to the workers and the folks that joined the rocket at Michoud, that made the heat shield tiles that held together tonight, that stacked the vehicle in Florida, that integrated the vehicle in Denver, that fired the engines in Stennis, that fired the boosters in Promontory. I mean, this is the entire team, coming together and being tested by the environment that this machine went through. And they did it right. The work was good. They did it right.
You've said in a number of briefings, of course, and in other forums that this is just the first step. The cadence has to step up, as the administrator has indicated. Now, it's a little early for the full report card on how integrity did, but did this mission ultimately, from your eyes view, exceed expectations?
It absolutely did. I mean, I was waiting to talk about this until we were in the water, and I think we still have, again, work to do to bring it in and really kind of go through it bolt by bolt and see what we learned. But I mean, so far, given what we learned during the mission and given how we performed on ascent, on entry, I always think about energy in terms of the states that you worry about the most, and every time we put these machines through these incredibly energetic states, they came through. So I'm fairly confident that we made a big step tonight to get us on the path towards the surface. I think the path to the surface is open now. We do have to do all the work, and we'll make sure we talk about that as cleanly as we can. We learned a few things during the mission, but I have to tell you, this was an incredible test of an incredible machine.
From an American psyche standpoint, the Empire State Building was lit up red, white, and blue tonight. Our coverage was seen on baseball stadiums around the major leagues. How captivating was this experience for the American people, for the world, in fact, as we returned to the moon?
I have not been able to watch a lot of the coverage as we've progressed through the mission. I will tell you, just from my witness in Florida before launch, and then seeing the people's faces here, and then reading where I can about how things are going. I think this has been a gift to the world from NASA. NASA has given the world a gift, proving to folks all over the place, especially young people, and that to me is what this is really about. Young people, when they see what we can do when we work together, when we have teams that collaborate, that it doesn't matter how hard the problems are, we can solve them. I'm hopeful.
Okay, I'm back.
As folks witness what we
there
were
we go.
able to do with this incredible crew, this incredible team that we've birthed into the world, scientists and engineers and artists that have been inspired by this. And even if they don't come work in the program, which separately they should come work in the program, because Lord knows we need the help, but even if they don't want to come work in the program, hopefully they grow up to recognize they can do amazing things when they work together and contribute to society and be good citizens and really change the way the challenges that are coming in the world are overcomable if we work together like this.
And one final question. You know, flying to the moon, we did it. We've done it again this past week and a half or so. But the engineering that went behind the design of this mission and the precision, the pinpoint precision of this vehicle entering that entry corridor, it's almost mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is incredible when you think about the energies involved and the uncertainties involved. That when we inserted the vehicle into orbit, it was 99.2% down the middle. When we dropped the vehicle right on top of the fleet here, our guys knew exactly where to go, but the guidance was perfect. And it's interesting. I've got this question a lot over the last few weeks about, we did this.
Looks like one of the chopper is coming.
It is a reasonable thing to contemplate, like what's gone on since then. And what I'd tell you is, when we did Apollo, which again, the more we learn about what they did.
Oh, look at that rotor wash.
It seems what they were able to accomplish given the technology and the learnings that they had. But when we did Apollo, the architects of Apollo, Gilbert, Seaman, von Braun, Mueller, what they really, really wanted to do, as they were contemplating what it meant to expand our range of action to the lunar surface, what they wanted to do was learn how to live and work in space for a long time. They wanted to do that first before they were confident they could expand their range of action to the moon. Now, of course, the politics of the time and the mission at the time was different, and so they had to go straight to the moon and bring people home. And then after that, the program kind of lost its momentum. But after that, NASA kept moving along those paths, right? So we recognized during Apollo that reusability was going to be important. We spent a lot of money on those machines, and we spent a lot of money on these machines here. But we recognized that reusability was important, which is why we built a winged space plane called Space Shuttle, and then we used that reusable machine to build a space station. And we learned for 25 years how to live and work in space, and have been able to develop technologies that can enable exploration. So really, what I think is now, 53 years later, we're at the point where the architects of Apollo would have been pleased that we're now ready to actually go back to the moon and go back to stay, because we've learned all the things we needed to learn.
There's a lot of people pleased here tonight, and we really thank you for joining us. Amit Kshatriya, NASA's Associate Administrator, as we begin to hoist the crew onto the helicopters.
Looks like one has just been plucked out of the front porch and is about ready to go aboard the helicopter on one of the two helicopters.
This is Mission Control Houston, with the crew members now beginning to be hoisted aboard the Navy helicopters. Let's go to Megan Cruz aboard the USS John P. Murtha, who will take it from here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just looking at something that someone was saying elsewhere.
Back, on the bow of the ship here, we are seeing the helicopters circling Orion. The first one there, having just completed picking up the first astronaut. Helo 2
and they're about to pick up the next one.
Hovering just 40 feet above the front porch, lowering a recovery specialist out of the helicopter. That person will touch down in the front porch just there. The crew members already outfitted with a harness that will allow them to quickly attach to the hoisting device. Look at the power of those blades.
Pops a helicopter pilot for recovery specialist, whatever. Yeah, indeed. Just plucking them straight out of there and getting them out of there, and then off to the recovery ship.
Again, crews already outfitted with a harness vest. And here we go. Second astronaut now off the front porch.
There it goes. They've just plucked him out. Now it's about ready to head off to the ship.
That helicopter will now hover just a distance away to give room for the first helicopter to come back and pick up the third astronaut.
That's what I thought they were. For whatever reason, I was thinking maybe they were going to do two at a time, but no, they're doing a relay. I see what's going on.
Make its way back around. Just want to mention that the President of the United States called our NASA administrator today while he was on the ship, just minutes after we interviewed him live on our coverage, and congratulated him and NASA on this history-making moment tonight.
There we go.
Helicopter 1 again hovering 40 feet over the front porch. We will soon see another recovery specialist getting lowered onto the front porch. Wow, imagine sitting on that front porch, the wind, the water. But again, the recovery team determined that a helicopter flight back to the ship here would be safer, faster,
there goes the third one.
Comfortable for our crew who just completed a 10-day mission around the moon. Third astronaut in the air, getting hoisted quickly back into the first helicopter now. That first helicopter now on its way back to the ship here. We will soon see it land in just a few minutes. Again, all this action happening just 3,000 yards away from us, so a very quick flight back to the flight deck. And now the only person left on the front porch, Commander Reed Wiseman. That second helicopter now making its way back over to the front porch. Here it comes.
They're about to pick up the third. Oh,
making its final approach here.
Yep, they're doing the final. They're picking up the final astronaut and getting them onto the ship. I'm not sure what they're going to do once they're on the ship. We'll see what they have there. They probably won't get into something resembling civvies for a while, so we'll have to see how things look when we get back on the ship. When they get back over on the ship. There they go. They're getting clear.
The last astronaut, Commander Reed Wiseman, now off the front porch and almost into the second helicopter. Both now on their way back to the ship where we are, the USS John P. Murtha, just west of San Diego in the Pacific Ocean.
Great teamwork, Harry. Yes, very much so, because, I mean, these people's lives were in the balance from pretty much the minute those hatches were closed and the life support system turned on to the moment that they have been taken out of there and on the deck of a ship.
To see our 4 crew members minutes away from landing on the flight deck here on the recovery ship. 550 people on this ship, excited, ready, anxious, looking forward to welcoming this crew aboard. Watching them now with our own eyes. Close to the ship here. Hearing them begin to hover on the flight deck, which is just across from us, here on the bow.
We must have just dropped off the third one. There's the fourth one that we see on there. They just touched down the other one, the other helicopter. Here comes the final touchdown.
And wheels down,
They've just touched down.
Helicopter carrying 2 of our Artemis II crew. Pilot Victor Glover and mission specialist Christina Cook.
There's the welcome aboard by the bosun.
Reported on the recovery loop. Again, the mission audio loops that the recovery team are using here to communicate with one another. And an announcement just made on the ship, integrity incoming.
That is cool. That is so cool that they actually did a bell ringing, kind of like they do aboard the space station when a new crew comes in. And it's and that's what they do. It's a long-standing naval tradition.
To our imagery and aerial teams for giving us these beautiful views of history in the making.
I don't know if they're going to pipe them aboard, but certainly that's what they do with the bell. Is that they toll the bell when I'm not sure if it's the bosun who does that or not. And for those who don't know, bosun looks like the word boatswain, but it's pronounced bosun. B-O-A-T-S-W-A-I-N.
Plenty of people here on the bow with their cell phones out, filming this moment.
And the final touchdown. Oh, we lost it. There we go.
Flying here by the Navy, as we are seconds away from wheels down. And there you go. We now have all 4 Artemis II crew members on the USS John P. Murtha. I'm sure they're happy to be out of the water and on this recovery ship with, again, 550 people on board, ready to welcome them home. But first, as we've been saying throughout the broadcast, just making sure the crew feel good.
Yeah, that's probably the most important part, and everybody is probably also in extremely good spirits.
Verbal assessments of how they're feeling. Their destination tonight, the medical bay here on the ship, right after we power down the helicopters here.
It looks like I think I see one of the the one on our left side on the screen is starting to slow down.
The team on the flight deck working quickly but methodically.
They're shoring they're mooring the helicopters to the deck. Here comes another one.
Waiting for just one more helicopter to touch down.
I think we're aboard that helicopter with this shot. Yep, sure enough.
Very limited personnel here on the flight deck.
Restricted maneuvering doctrine is in effect.
As that third helicopter touches down.
And it's being marshaled in. Make sure that they're in the right spots.
The ship is at flight quarters. Stand clear of waiter decks, ACO frame 095, or no cover stop side, thrown articles over the side, hold all trash and garbage on station. Flight quarters.
While just a few folks on the flight deck itself, there are plenty more on some upper decks. I see in some of our views a very packed crowd overhead. Announcements being made over the ship's loudspeaker system, reminding folks to stay clear of operational areas like the flight deck.
I don't know if they've actually been disembarked from the helicopters.
The helicopters and into the medical bay.
Oh, they haven't. I I guess they have to moor everything first before they disembark.
Splashdown today, 5:06 p.m. Pacific time. We are within 2 hours of that splashdown time, and already we have all 4 crew members on the flight deck of the USS John P. Murtha. Again, crew waiting before getting out for the helicopters to completely shut down.
Oh. Anyway, I think at this point, I'm not sure if you want to wait until they disembark, but I think it's going to be a little while because these procedures can take a little while. I'm not sure if you want to watch that or not, but I already have an idea of whom we can raid after we can raid. I know exactly whom. Oh, looks like they're shutting down at least this one. The one on the starboard side of the ship. And the one astern of that one, it looks like it's getting ready to shut down. Yep, the one on the port side, abeam him, is shutting down. Actually, they're all shutting down. All right, it looks like they've got all the vehicles shut down. All they have to do now is, I'm not sure if they have to do any more procedures to go ahead and have them disembark. And I think we're going to do something really special on this one because I'll mention that, I'll describe that a little bit more in detail, just a little more.
Victor Glover and mission specialist Christina Cook sitting on the edge of one of the helicopters, looking in great spirits. That familiar smile and laugh from Victor, I can see it from here. Christina, I'm sure, feeling the same way, just blocked a little bit by our camera here, but we'll see her here shortly. A photographer taking their pictures.
I have to go now. Thanks again for streaming this and giving insight. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming, and you have a great rest of your evening. I really appreciate you coming on by and enjoying this presentation. It was a pleasure to have you on here, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening or whatever it is where you are. Thank you for coming by.
Getting the opportunity to
I am glad you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
These 4 astronauts who just made history as the first crew to return.
There's Victor Glover on the out of the where he is sitting. Thank you, and you too. You bet. See ya. There's the bell that tolls for them that they're coming aboard.
There we see Christina there, also smiling, finally peering out, waving at the cameras. Hello to you too, Christina, yes? Welcome back. Welcome, welcome home. A loudspeaker announcement on the ship saying, "Welcome home, Integrity."
And they just got belled in, which is awesome. Like I said, this is a very, very, very long-standing naval tradition.
I can't see who he's talking to, but I kind of think that he might be talking to.
And that happens even on the on the International Space Station when a new expedition comes up, whether by way of Soyuz or by way of Crew Dragon. And once it ever comes back up again, the CST Starliner,
So
CST 100 Starliner.
Some Navy personnel walking up to the helicopter. This is again the first helicopter carrying pilot Victor Glover and mission specialist Christina Cook. Both have taken off their helmets now. Some pictures, video to catalog this historic moment. A beautiful sunset just behind them here in the Pacific Ocean. Golden hour. These pictures will be beautiful. Now we see NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman. He is on the flight deck, as well as Flight Surgeon Rick Schuring walking over to Victor and Christina first. We saw the administrator walk over to the other helicopter, which is carrying Commander Reed Weissman and mission specialist Jeremy Hansen.
Okay, I think it's as good a time as any to go ahead and call the stream now.
He said he's going to be out there on the
I'm going to go ahead and mute that real quick here on my side of things.
Do another initial assessment.
Oops, let's try that again. Alrighty. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming on in. This was one thing. I mean, while I didn't get to cover the launch, and at one point, like I promised, I will cover it, albeit on a bit of a delay. I said time delayed, but normally it's usually like in the next day I can actually do it. But unfortunately, though, I've been busy. I've been so busy and so tired. I might do it tomorrow sometime. I'll have to see how things look. Again, I'd like to say everybody who came in here, thank you so much for coming on in. I really appreciate it. It was, like I said, very much history in the making, and I really, really enjoyed presenting this to everybody here. And as I like to say, as always, let me go ahead and get over here. As I like to say, Slava Ukraini, and it was such a wonderful stream to do. I've been wanting to do this for such a long time. You have no idea. So in the meantime, I will keep an eye on a good day to do the actual launch side of things. And of course, I showed the actual part of the actual flight around that during the course of one of my other streams earlier this week. But unfortunately, I did not come home in time to actually cover the real launch time at the time it launched. So, and thank you, Kittlefish. Great to see you here too. And I hope everybody enjoyed this. In the meantime, we're gonna go say a hi to a very special friend of mine who I really, without her, I wouldn't be able to move like I do right now. So what we're going to do, we're going to visit my friend QAnon, and we're going to say hi to her in a very special way. Not just with the raid, but I'm actually going to go, let me check on... She's playing Minecraft. I actually am on her server, but I'm really about the best way I can do right now is just say hi to her on Discord. I'm not sure if she's in. The others are in the Discord. Be fun. Getting ready for that. Nope, she's not. Nope, it isn't going to happen, unfortunately. But we're still going to raid her and say hi. So let's go back up here. So in any event, we're going to do I'm going to do a very special raid message for those people who are going to join us as we raid. we're gonna go join we're gonna join Q-On. She is my rigger. She rigged my model. Like I said, without her, I wouldn't be able to move. So anyway, let's go ahead, and here's a message for those people who don't have subs. And those who do, let me give you one for that. And we're going to go ahead and start the raid real quick here. I don't get to raid her at all. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and start and go ahead and raid her. Thank you so much for coming on in. I hope you have a great evening or wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much for coming on in. Let's see. So thank you so much for coming on in. I hope you have a great evening, and hope to do another stream real quick for you soon. So in the next day or so, whether it's a game or coverage of the original launch. So thank you so much for coming on in. I hope you have a great evening, or wherever it is you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining, and I really appreciate you coming in. Have a great time, and in the meantime, have a good one, and I will see you soon. Bye.